Today, Trump and Putin are set for face-to-face talks in Alaska. Erik Prince plans to keep personnel in Haiti for 10 years to fight gangs and collect taxes. Hotter than expected wholesale prices hit markets. And an Israeli far-right minister announces a plan to bury the idea of a Palestinian state. It's Friday, August 15th. This is Reuters World News, bringing you everything you need to know from the front lines in 10 minutes, 7 days a week. I'm Tara Oakes in London. US President Donald Trump is set to meet his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in Alaska later today. The meeting at a Cold War-era Air Force base will be their first face-to-face talks since Trump returned to the White House.
And if it's a bad meeting, it'll end very quickly. And if it's a good meeting, we're going to end up getting peace in the pretty near future, okay?
White House correspondent Steve Holland is traveling to Anchorage for the historic meetup.
The world is waiting to see which Trump will show up at this meeting. Will it be the Trump who was very ingratiating toward Putin during his first term and early in this second term, took some pro-Russian stances, drew a hard line against President Zelensky of Ukraine? Or will it be the Trump we've seen in the last couple of months who seems fed up with the war, wants to stop it, believes that Putin has been tapping him along, as he has said a number of times? Trump has been frustrated that Putin will say very nice things to him on the phone, but then continue these drone strikes on Ukraine cities with deadly effect. Trump would like to end all that. One of the things that we're hearing is that Putin requested this meeting. If he comes to the meeting empty-handed, this could annoy Trump and make things even worse.
And Steve, we know the main topic is ending the war in Ukraine, but are there other items these leaders might want to get out of the talks?
One of the things it's possible to have a positive outcome is talks about the New START treaty, which imposes limits on strategic nuclear missiles. This New START treaty is to expire in February. There is a belief on both sides that they could extend this treaty for a further period and avoid the tensions that would result from it collapsing. That is one outcome that could be announced at this summit beyond the usual Ukraine topics. And they could also just talk about economic sanctions, the global economy. President Trump has for a long time wanted to drive a wedge between Russia and China. So there's a lot to talk about beyond just Ukraine.
Reuters are, of course, on the ground for the summit and will bring you the latest throughout the day, including Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov arriving at the venue in a sweater bearing the Russian acronym for the USSR, and live video outside the venue, which has so far seen moose and bears roaming around. Follow along for the latest on Reuters.com or the Reuters app. As the security of Ukraine hangs in the balance, security in Haiti now rests in the hands of an American private security executive. Erik Prince, the founder of Blackwater and a prominent Trump supporter, says he has a 10-year deal with Haiti to fight the country's criminal gangs. In an interview with Reuters, Prince said his company, Vectus Global, would also take a role in restoring the country's tax collection system once the security situation is stabilized. Senior correspondent Anna Hertenstein sat down with him.
So they're doing two kinds of work. The first is fighting against the gangs. So they've actually started this already. It started in March. They've been doing a drone program. And a source close to Erik Prince tells me that they plan to ramp up this fight in the coming weeks. Prince expects to have gained control of major roads and territories from the gangs in about a year.
So what's his plan? These gangs have terrorized Haiti for years.
They're bringing in several hundred trained fighters that are their employees from the US, Europe, El Salvador. And these are people who are trained in multiple disciplines. It's like a person who can do sniping, intelligence, communications, vehicle operation. They can do like 5 things at once. And they're going to coordinate this with the Haitian police. And then once the security situation is more stable, their plan is to help build out a tax collection program where they would tax companies and collect tariffs on imported goods coming across the border with the Dominican Republic. And the government used to get about half of its tax revenue from these border tariffs. But as this gang issue has accelerated, they haven't been able to do that anymore. So it would be a question of trying to reestablish this revenue stream to fund the government and essential services in Haiti. And then a slice of this would also go to pay vectors.
California's Governor Gavin Newsom says he will ask voters to approve a temporary strategy in November, redrawing the state's congressional map. The move is likely to create 5 more Democratic seats. It's an escalation in the redistricting war to counter what they see as a Republican power grab in Texas. US producer prices increased more than expected in July amid a surge in the costs of services and goods. The producer price index for final demand jumped 0.9%. It's likely to bolster concerns among Federal Reserve policymakers that rising inflation remains at risk, and could intensify debate over the rationale for an interest rate cut next month. Israel's far-right finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, announcing that work will start on the long-delayed Econ settlement plan. It would divide the West Bank and cut it off from East Jerusalem. Smotrich says the settlement plan definitively buries the idea of a Palestinian state, simply because there is nothing to recognise and no one to recognise. Alexander Cornwell is a Reuters senior correspondent based in Jerusalem. So Alexander, let's take a step back here. What's the current state of settlers in the West Bank?
So today there's about 700,000 settlers living in the West Bank among around 2.7 million Palestinians. The settlers are not monolithic. Many of them born in Israel, some of them have immigrated to Israel. Some moved there for ideological reasons or religious reasons, while others moved there for economic reasons. There can be government incentives to live in settlements.
So how would these settlement plans change the West Bank's links to East Jerusalem?
So the finance minister's announcement for the E1 project sits between an existing settlement in the West Bank close to Jerusalem and towards the Jerusalem or East Jerusalem area. And what Palestinians and Israeli rights groups say is that will divide the West Bank and will also cut off the Palestinians from East Jerusalem. Now, it's worth mentioning that for a long time now, the Israelis have had what they call a security wall or a security barrier, the wall that many people know that separates much of the West Bank from Jerusalem and from areas of Israel. So Palestinians are already cut off from East Jerusalem. So although this will cut Palestinians, I guess, geographically from East Jerusalem, if the project does indeed go ahead, today there are many barriers and restrictions on them anyway, moving between the West Bank and Jerusalem.
Smotrich says Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US President Trump have agreed to the revival of the E1 development, though there was no immediate confirmation from either. The Trump administration is discussing capping refugee admissions at around 40,000 for the coming year, with the majority allocated to white South Africans. That's according to 2 US officials briefed on the matter and an internal refugee program email. It would reflect a major shift in the US approach to refugees. When Trump took office, he immediately froze refugee admissions, but weeks later launched a program for Afrikaners, a largely Dutch-descended minority in South Africa. Ted Hessen has the story. Ted, why is the administration prioritizing these applicants?
The reason he said this group should be prioritized is because he said they face race-based persecution in South Africa. Now, I should say that's a claim that the South African government has pushed back very hard against and says that it's not true. But the Trump administration says that there is some evidence of it. And they've undertaken this effort to bring people into the U.S. as refugees who are Afrikaners. It would really be an unprecedented twist and turn in the refugee program to have such an outsized focus on one group. And truthfully, what refugees who are white coming from, a country that's majority black in the world. And it really would turn the dynamics of the program on its head from what it's been so far.
Costco Wholesale says it's decided to not sell abortion pill mifepristone across all its US pharmacy stores, citing low demand. The decision comes amid campaigns against a pill by religious activist groups. And for today's recommended read, An Olympics with a Difference. A 3-day-long World Humanoid Robot Games has opened in China, aimed at highlighting progress in artificial intelligence and robotics. You can find out more and see pictures of the robotic contenders by following the link in the pod description. And tomorrow, check out our latest episode of our new On Assignment long-form podcast. It's also all about AI. For more on any of the stories from today, check out Reuters.com or the Reuters app. Don't forget to follow us on your favourite podcast player. And if you're listening on a smart speaker, just ask for the latest news from Reuters, 7 days a week. We'll be back tomorrow with our daily headline show.